Hello, Auxiliary here again. In today's video, I will be covering my tips and tricks on how to survive the World Wars era. Personally, I've always thought of the World Wars era as the red-headed stepchild of the game. As there's not too much that happens in the game, you get minimal additions to the economy, and you can get through it really quick if you want. If you like these kind of videos, press that like button. If you have a question, leave a comment below so I can reply, and please subscribe to my channel so you're notified of all my upcoming videos. The first tip to surviving the World Wars era is get the fire station built. I cannot reiterate this enough. Get it built ASAP and make sure you have at least one fire station on all unconnected major islands. So if you have some islands connected by road, then you don't need to have one fire station on each island, as the road will do the connection for the fire station. But if there's no substantial buildings on an outlier island, then maybe you don't need to build a fire station there. But if you do have two unconnected islands that both have substantial buildings on them, be sure to build a fire station on each. After you have built your fire stations, build your church and clinic as soon as possible if you have the money. The second tip is focusing your economy on weapons, boats, and cigars, in that order. Weapons is the most complex with the need of steel and nickel, so you will need to have a coal and iron mine just to make the steel, and then a nickel mine to then send all that stuff to the weapon factory. It is complex, but the payoff is great. Boats have a good price and seem to be produced at a rapid pace. Cigars are simple with the tobacco to cigars, but it seems the pace of production is a little slower as compared to boats. The third tip is to get your embassy and commando garrison built, as you'll have to anyway to advance to the Cold War era in most maps. To get out of the World Wars era, request an alliance from the Allies, run the sabotage raids against the Axis, and fulfill the trade demand to advance to the Cold War era. The fourth tip to surviving the World War era is don't build power plants. You really don't need to build power plants unless you are upgrading buildings that require electricity, or you're building something like the cannery or radio station, which I do not recommend building in this era right now. Save your money, build up your economy right now, and don't build any power related items until you get to the Cold War era. The fifth tip is to set your constitution for voting rights to all citizens vote, and no other options. For the military, try and set it to pacifist state, but if there is a concern about being attacked, then set it to militia and build barracks within the radius of a fort with the arsenal upgrade. The sixth tip is about housing. You can build a few apartments if you want to, but I do recommend sticking with bunkhouses until you get to the Cold War era. Apartments are expensive, and if they don't fill up, they are even more costly. So I recommend sticking with the bunkhouses for the reasons of they're cheaper to build, you can put homeless people in them, and they still give you an okay housing rating. You will be changing over some of your housing when you reach the Cold War era. The seventh tip to surviving the World Wars era is for the entertainment, stick with building the circus, as they can take in a large volume of people when at full employment. You could add a restaurant, but frankly, you're just spending more for less. Kind of see what I'm talking about when I say the World War era is the red-headed stepchild era. You don't get much added, and it seems like you stick with a lot of stuff from the colonial era. The 8th tip is to build the police station and prison. The police station will increase your crime safety happiness rating, but they can also arrest criminals and send them to prison. In the prison, you can select the convict labor work mode, as that'll send money each month to your piggy bank for each prisoner you house. Your prison, if full or near full, should generate a profit each month. The 9th tip is to research and implement the state loans edict to get some additional money to build all the buildings I recommended earlier in the video. Keep in mind there is a repayment time and a cooldown time for this edict. Also pick the Right to Arms edict to boost your liberty rating. The 10th and final tip is to be mindful of the citizens' happiness, as you will have to win elections unless you take drastic steps. Every 10 in-game years you will have to win an election, so it is key to keep your citizens happy, else you could be voted out of office and lose whatever game you're playing. You have the options to give a speech, not give a speech, or cancel the elections and take a hit amongst your citizens of your island when this election prompt is presented. If you give a speech, pick the lowest happiness rated item, the lowest happy faction, say no one to blame, and no promises to raise the ratings. Upon giving that speech, that should give a happiness boost and increase your chances of being re-elected. I recommend canceling the elections only if you are in deep trouble with your happiness rating and you would lose the election. But then you should be working on whatever low happiness items you have on your island for the next election, because if it's too low, then there are more severe consequences like rebel uprising, guerrilla attacks. That is all for this video. If you like these kind of videos, press that like button. If you have a question, leave a comment below so I can reply. And please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.